Devaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 9, the Desire Tree of Devotional Service, Text 13 onwards. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as previously it said, by his inconceivable powers, the Lord became the gardener, the trunk, and the branches simultaneously. So gardener, trunk, and branches of Bhakti tree. Further it says, Paramanand Puriyar Keshava Bharati, Brahmananda Puriyar Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri Kesha Puri Puri Krishnananda, Shridhar Sema Tirtha Hara Puri Sukhananda, Ei Nava Mula Nika Shila Vriksha Mule, Ei Nava Mule Vriksha Karila Nishchale. Paramanand Puri, Keshav Bharati, Brahmanand Puri, and Brahmanand Bharati, Shri Vishnu Puri, Keshav Puri, Krishnananda Puri, Shri Narsimha Tirtha, and Sukhananda Puri. These 9 sannyasis' roots all sprouted from the trunk of the tree. Thus the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. So Prabhupada gives some description of all these different devotees. Paramanand Puri. Paramanand Puri belonged to a Brahmin family of the Trihut district in Uttar Pradesh. Madhavendra Puri was his spiritual master. So he was the disciple of Madhavendra Puri, so god brother of Ishwar Puri. In relationship with Madhavendra Puri, Paramanand Puri was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there is a following statement. Among his sannyasi disciples, Ishwar Puri and Paramanand Puri were very dear to Madhavendra Puri. Thus, Paramanand Puri, like Swarup Damodar, who was also a sannyasi, was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was his constant associate. When Lord Chaitanya accepted the renounced order, Paramanand Puri offered him the danda. So it's also important that who gives you danda, that Mahaprabhu took ek danda. Sannyasi took from Keshav Bharati, but who gives the proper danda, that is the symbol of sannyas, that's also important. So Paramanand Puri gave him that danda. Paramanand Puri was always engaged in meditation, and Shri Swarup was always engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered full respect to his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri, he similarly respected Paramanand Puri and Swarup Damodar. It is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first saw Paramanand Puri, he made the following statement. He said, my eyes, my mind, my religious activities, and my acceptance of the sannyasa order have now all become perfect because today Madhavendra Puri is manifest before me in the form of Paramanand Puri. Chaitanya Bhagavat further says, thus Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exchanged respectful obeisances with Paramanand Puri, who was very dear to him. Paramanand Puri established a small monastery behind the western side of the Jagannath temple, where he had a well dug to supply water. The water, however, was bitter, and therefore Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to Lord Jagannath to allow Ganges water to come into the well to make it sweet. When Lord Jagannath granted the request, Lord Chaitanya told all the devotees that from that day hence, the water of Paramanand Puri's well should be celebrated as Ganges water. For any devotee who would drink it or bathe in it would certainly get the same benefit as that derived from drinking or bathing in the waters of the Ganges. Such a person would certainly develop pure love of Godhead. So Yeah, I read about this, the well of Parmanand Puri or Parmanand Kua, it is called. But so far, I haven't had a chance to visit that in Jagannath Puri. So it's towards the western side, so backside of Jagannath Temple. So next time we go, we can look for it. It is stated in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Prabhu Bale Ami ye achiye prithvi the, nishchay ye janiha puri gosai prith. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, I am living in this world only on account of the excellent behavior of Shri Paramanand Puri. The Gaur Gunadesh Dipaka says, Puri Shri Paramanando ya Asid Uddhav Pura. Paramanand Puri is none other than Uddhav. Uddhav was Lord Krishna's friend and cousin, and in Chaitanya Lila, the same Uddhav became the friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his uncle in terms of their relationship in the disciplic succession. So Uddhavji came as Paramanand Puri. Then second is Keshav Bharti. The Saraswati, Bharti and Puri Sampradayas belong to the Sringeri Mutt in South India. And Sri Keshav Bharti, who at that time was situated in a monastery in Katwa, belonged to the Bharti Sampradaya. So this Katwa is near Navdvip. According to some authoritative opinions, although Keshav Bharti belonged to Shankar Sampradaya, he had formerly been initiated by a Vaishnava. He is said to have been a Vaishnava on account of having been initiated by Madhavendra Puri. For some say he took sannyas from Madhavendra Puri. The temple and deity worship started by Keshav Bharti are still existing in the village known as Khatundi, which is under the postal jurisdiction of Kandra in the district of Burdwan. According to the managers of that matta, the priests are descendants of Keshav Bharti. In his household life, he had two sons, Nishapati and Ushapati, and a Brahman of the name Shri Nakadi Chandra Vidyaratna, who was a member of the family of Nishapati, was the priest in charge at the time that Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati visited this temple. According to some, the priests of the temple belonged to the family of Keshav Bharti's brother. Still another opinion is that they descended from Madhav Bharti, who was a disciple of Keshav Bharti. Madhav Bharti's disciple Balbhadra, who also later became a sannyasi of the Bharti Sampradaya, had two sons in his family life, named Madan and Gopal. Madan, whose family's surname was Bharti, lived in the village of Oriya, and Gopal, whose family's surname was Brahmachari, lived in the village of Denduda. There are still many living descendants of both the families. In Gaur Gaurandesh Deepika it is said, now we know, Krishna's guru was Sandipni Muni, where he took teachings from Sandipni Muni in Mathura, or in Ujjain actually. So Sandipni Muni, who formerly offered the sacred thread to Krishna and Balram, later became Keshav Bharti. It is he who offered sannyas to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is another statement about Keshav Bharti from Gaur Gaurandesh Deepika. According to some authoritative opinions, Keshav Bharti is an incarnation of Akrura. Keshav Bharti offered the sannyas order to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the year 1432, Shakabda, or AD 1510, in Katwa. This is stated in Vaishnav Manjusha, Part 2. So 1510, Mahaprabhu appeared in 1486 according to English calendar. So in 24th year, he took sannyas. Now comes Brahmanand Puri. Shri Brahmanand Puri was one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was performing Kirtan in Navdvip. And he also joined Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. We may note in this connection that the name Brahmanand is accepted not only by Mayavadi sannyasis, but by Vaishnava sannyasis also. So Brahmanand generally is those who enjoy in Brahmjyoti or enjoy that they all come from Brahmjyoti and they're going to merge in Brahmjyoti. But real Brahmanan, and Prabhupada also named one of his disciples as Brahmanan, who also took sannyas later on. But Prabhupada said, you are the real Brahmananda, one who enjoys in the Supreme Brahman. That the name Brahmanand is accepted by Vaishnava sannyasis also. One of our foolish god brothers criticized our sannyasi, Brahmanand Swami. Prabhupada is talking about his disciple, saying that this was a Mayavadi name. The foolish man did not know that Brahmanan does not always refer to the impersonal Brahman. Par-Brahman, the supreme Brahman, is Krishna. A devotee of Krishna can therefore also be called Brahmananda. This is evident from the fact that Brahmanand Puri was one of the chief sannyasi associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Brahmanand Bharti went to see Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Dham. At that time, he used to wear only a deer skin to cover himself. And Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly indicated that he did not like this deer skin covering, because deer skin is generally worn by Shankaracharya's followers. Brahmanand Bharti therefore gave it up and accepted a loincloth of saffron color as used by Vaishnava sannyasis. For some time he lived with Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath Puri. Madhya Mula Parmananda Puri Mahadhira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kailastira. With the sober and grave Parmanand Puri as a central root, and the other 8 roots in the 8 directions, the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood firmly. Skandera upare bahu shakha upajila, upari shakha sankhya haila. From the trunk grew many branches, and above them innumerable others. Bisha shakha kari eka mandala, maha shakha chaila, brahmanda chakala. Thus the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society with great branches covering all the universe. And Prabhupada says our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of the branches of the Chaitanya tree. Eka shaka te upashaka shata shata yata upajila shaka ke gani bekata. From each branch grew many hundreds of sub-branches. No one can count how many branches thus grew. So this is how they expanded the Bhakti Vriksha with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the middle. Mukhya shaka ganir nama aganan age takaribe shana vrikshera varnan. I shall try to name the foremost of the innumerable branches. Please hear the description of the Chaitanya tree. Vrikshera upare shaka haila duiskanda eka advaita nam aranityananda. At the top of the tree, the trunk branched into 2. One trunk was named Shri Advaita Prabhu and the other Shri Nityananda Prabhu. Sei dui skande bahu shaka upajila, tara upashaka gane jagata chaila. From these 2 trunks grew many branches and sub-branches that covered the entire world. Bada shaka upashaka tara upashaka yata upajila tara ke karibe lekha. These branches and sub-branches and their sub-branches became so numerous that no one can actually write about them. Shishya prashishya ara upashishya gana jagata vyapila tar nahika ganana. Thus the disciples and the grand disciples and their admirers spread throughout the entire world, and it is not possible to enumerate them all. Udumbara vriksha yena phale sarva ange mata bhakti vriksha sarvatra phala lage. As a big fig tree bears fruits all over its body, each part of the tree of devotion service bore fruit. So this tree of devotional service is not of this material world. It grows in the spiritual world, where there is no distinction between one part of the body and another. It is something like a tree of sugar, for whichever part of such a tree one tastes, it's always sweet. The tree of bhakti has varieties of branches, leaves, and fruits, but they're all meant for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 9 different processes of devotion service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. But all of them are meant only for the service of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, whether one hears, chants, remembers, or worships, one's activities will yield the same result. Which one of these processes will be the most suitable for a particular devotee depends upon his taste. So all the 9 processes, every process has the same strength, same potency. It's just everybody is different. Everybody likes 1, 2, maybe all 10, all 9. Mula skandera shakar upashaka gane, lagila ye prema phala amrita ke jeene. Since Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the original trunk, the taste of the fruits that grew on the branches and sub-branches surpassed the taste of nectar. Pakila ye prema phala amrita madhura, vilaya chaitanya mali nahilaya mula. The fruits ripened and became sweet and nectarian. The gardener, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed them without asking any price. Trijagate yatache dhan ratnamani, eka phaler mulyakari taha nahi gani. All the wealth in 3 worlds cannot equal the value of one such nectarian fruit of devotional service. So all the wealth in the 3 worlds, in the whole universe, it means, it's not equal to one such nectarian fruit of devotion service. Mage va na mage keha, patra va apatra, ihara vichara nahi jane de amatra. Not considering who asked for it and who did not, nor who was fit and who unfit to receive it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed the fruit of devotional service. So this is the sum and substance of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. There is no distinction made between those who are fit and those who are not fit to hear or take part in the Sankirtan movement. It should therefore be preached without discrimination. The only purpose of the preachers of the Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this Sankirtan movement to the world. So to go on preaching without restriction. And these fruits, as Mahaprabhu said, he distributed to everybody, and we should also distribute to anybody and everybody. Anjali Anjali bhari fele chaturdishe, daridra kudaya khaya malakar hase. The transcendental gardener Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed handful after handful of fruit in all directions. And when the poor, hungry people ate the fruit, the gardener smiled with great pleasure. So this fruit is of bhakti, Krishna prem. And Mahaprabhu distributed in all directions. Malakara kaheshun vriksha parivara, mula shaka upashaka, yateka prakara. Lord Chaitanya thus addressed the multifarious varieties of branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotion service. Alokika vriksha kare sarvendriya karma, sthavaraha iya dhare, jangamera dharma. Since the tree of devotion service is transcendental, every one of its parts can perform the actions of all the others. All the tree is supposed to be immovable. This tree nevertheless moves. So it's our experience in the material world that trees stand in one place, but in the spiritual world, a tree can go from one place to another. Therefore, everything in the spiritual world is called alokik, uncommon or transcendental. Another feature of such a tree is that it can act universal. In the material world, the roots of a tree go deep within the earth to gather food. But in the spiritual world, the twigs, branches, and leaves of the upper portion of the tree can act like the roots. And since this Bhakti Vriksha is a transcendental tree, it's not that it's only going to get water from the roots. Means the nourishment of the tree can happen from twigs, from the branch, sub-branches, leaves, anywhere else. So like the leaves, suppose a Bhakti Vriksha, of course, the original is with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the root. But now, if we consider Prabhupada, now Prabhupada ISKCON is one of the sub-branches. But even in the sub-branch, it has become a tree, a kind of a tree on its own. And the sub-branches, there's so many devotees preaching and helping Prabhupada in his preaching mission. So they all become like a root of this branch to nourish this branch together. And the tree, and this branch, sub-branch has become a tree, like a tree, and it is growing further all over the world. People are recognizing. Ei vrikshera angahaya sava sachetan badiya vyapila sabe sakala bhuvan. All the parts of this tree are spiritually cognizant, and thus they grow, they spread all over the world. Ekala malakara ami kaha yav, ekalava katafala padiya vilava. I'm the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? Here Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicates that the distribution of the Hare Krishna Mantra should be performed by combined forces. Although he is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, he laments, how can I act alone? How can I alone pick the fruit and distribute it all over the world? This indicates that all classes of devotees should combine to distribute the Hare Krishna Mantra without consideration of the time, place, or situation. So this is our, actually this is our only service to Prabhupada. This is what he's requesting. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also is requesting. I'm the only one gardener. How much I can pick and distribute? We all have to help Mahaprabhu in distributing this bhakti, devotion service to everybody and anybody. So, I know we think, oh, preaching is so difficult. I have to know everything before I can preach and this and that. No. All we have to have this desire to serve Prabhupada. That yes, Prabhupada, through your books, through your servants, I've gathered so much, I've learned so much, and my life has become, if not completely perfect, but to a certain extent, my life has changed towards very good. So it is my duty. So please engage me in your service by letting me preach. And preaching, as I said, it's not just going through all the books and Sanskrit shloka and preaching. Anyway, anyhow, we can engage somebody in the service of the Lord. That's preaching. In chanting of Hare Krishna Mantra, that is preaching. In accepting prasadam, that is preaching. So in any way, if we can do that, That's great. Mahaprabhu himself will be very happy. Prabhupada will be very happy with the person. Ekala uthaya dite haye parishram, keha paye, keha na paye, rahe mane brahman. It would certainly be very laborious task to prick the fruits and distribute them alone. And still I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. Ateva ami agya delu savakare, yaha taha prema phala deha yaritare. Therefore, I order every man within this universe, and not every man, every woman also, to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. In this connection, there is a song sung by Srila Bhaktivinoda. The Sankirtan movement has been introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to dispel the illusions of Maya, by which everyone in this material world thinks himself to be a product of matter and therefore to have many duties pertaining to the body. Actually, the living entity is not his material body. He is a spirit soul. He has a spiritual need to be eternally blissful and full of knowledge. But unfortunately, he identifies himself with the body, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as an animal, sometimes as a tree, aquatic, demigod, and so on. Thus, with each change of body, he develops a different type of consciousness with different types of activities, and thus becomes increasingly entangled in material existence, transmigrating perpetually from one body to another. So under the spell of Maya, he does not consider the past or future, but is simply satisfied with the short span of life that he has gotten for the present. To eradicate this illusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought the Sankirtan movement, and he requests everyone to accept and distribute it. A person who is actually a follower of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur must immediately accept the request of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by offering respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet, and thus beg from him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one is fortunate enough to beg from the Lord this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, his life is successful. So that's all we need to adopt it and distribute it now. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.